Thank you, Chair Case, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share some of the findings of our studies. As has been mentioned, this DLNR has asked us to look at a few specific issues related to Banyan Drive, and the intent is to provide information to serve as a baseline and foundation to assist with the planning and future endeavors of Banyan Drive. We actually presented draft versions of these studies to the Banyan Task Force in 2014, and I'm happy to share those with you today. The first study that we did was a tourism market study, and the purpose of this was to analyze the tourism industry in Hilo, as well as assess whether there's demand for a new hotel. This slide here shows the historic trends of visitor arrivals to Hawaii, to the state as a whole, and we show, let's see, that we have the years going across on the bottom. And before I start, actually, I should just mention that this market study relies on data primarily from 2012 and 2013. The study was prepared in 2014. So going across on the bottom, we have the years, the number of visitors here on the vertical axis, and we show three lines. The blue line is the total number of visitors to the state, and then we have a breakdown of the domestic visitors in red and the international visitors in green. And so, for example, in 2013, there were about 8 million visitors to the state coming by air, and that was broken down by 5.4 million domestic visitors and 2.6 million international visitors. And what you can see in this slide is that following a slowdown after 2001, September 11, 2001, there was an increasing trend in visitor arrivals to the state up until the Great Recession, when visitor arrivals did decline, and in 2008 and 2009 there were fewer than 7 million visitors to Hawaii. But since that time, visitor arrivals did rebound, and in 2014 there were 8.2 million visitors to Hawaii by air. This next slide shows the percentage of visitors to Hawaii that come to Hilo specifically. So we're looking at the same years, 1990 to 2013, and you can see that the percent of visitors coming to Hilo has fluctuated over time. In the 1990s, it averaged about 5.8%. It peaked in 2007 at 9.7%, and since then it has come down to 6.7% or so, but it's still higher than the level in the 1990s. Just for comparison, Hilo does receive a smaller share of visitors compared to some of the other neighbor island destinations in the state. Kona gets 15.1% of visitors, Maui 29.4%, Kauai 14%, and Oahu, of course, is the highest with 62% of visitors. And part of the reason why Hilo does capture a smaller share of the visitors to the state is because of airline flight capacity. In 2012, there were 10.3 million seats to Hawaii, including both domestic and international seats. And this pie chart on the bottom shows the distribution of those 10.3 million seats to the different airports throughout the state. And as you can see, Honolulu has the vast majority with 70% of the seats. Maui has 17%. Kona and Lihue both have 6%, and Hilo has less than 1% of the seats to Hawaii. In 2012, that was 58,600 seats. So from an airline capacity standpoint, Hilo is at a disadvantage. And it wasn't always like this, as Senator Kahele mentioned. You know, in the past, there have been multiple flights from the mainland into Hilo, including actually international flights. But as flight capacity shifted over to Kona, the tourism trends kind of followed. This slide here just summarizes some of the visitor characteristics and compares Hilo with other destinations as well as the state as a whole. And what you can see is that based on data from 2012, visitors to Hilo on average stay a shorter number of days than when compared to the state and other destinations, 3.9 days on average. there's also fewer repeat visitors to Hilo. About 55% of those who come to Hilo are repeat visitors compared to 65% statewide. And Hilo does attract more package and group tours. So 13.2% of travelers to Hilo come on a group tour, and 36% of people come with package tours. In terms of the hotel inventory in Hilo, as we all know, many of the hotels in Hilo are concentrated along Banyan Drive, including many properties owned and leased by the state. This slide provides an overview of the price class of hotels for Hilo and the state as a whole. Hotel rooms are classified into 4 price classes, starting with budget, which is up to $100, and going up to luxury, which is over $500 a night. And what we show here is the distribution of hotel rooms. The blue bar represents the distribution for Hilo, and the red bars represent the distribution of hotel rooms statewide. And as you can see, the vast majority of hotel rooms in Hilo fall either in the budget or standard categories. 98% of hotel rooms fall in that category. In comparison, statewide, there's a greater diversity of price class across the 4 different classes, with a higher concentration of rooms in the luxury and deluxe categories. So one of the questions that DLNR had asked us to look at was, is there demand for a new hotel in Hilo? And the way we conducted this analysis was to say that, assuming the status quo, demand for a new hotel would be dependent on an increase in number of visitors to Hilo. And that can come from 1 or 2 scenarios. The first being more visitors to the state as a whole. So back in 2013, the projection for statewide visitors to Hawaii was 8.7 million visitors in 2016. So if more people come to Hawaii, that would include more people coming to Hilo. And then the second way that Hilo would get an increase in visitors is if they capture a higher percentage of visitors to the state. So as you recall, I showed earlier a slide that showed the percentage of visitors to Hawaii that come to Hilo. It was at 6.7%. So we modeled different scenarios ranging from 6.7% up to 9%. And this analysis was done prior to the announcement of the closure of Uncle Billy's. I'll go through this, which is what was in our report and what is online, and then I'll show a next slide that kind of takes into account the recent announcement of the Uncle Billy's closure. So again, this was looking at different capture rates of people coming to Hilo. Is there demand for a new hotel room, and new hotel? And what we did is convert the number of additional people into hotel nights and therefore demand for a hotel. And what this analysis found was that if the capture rate stayed similar to the 2012 level of 6.7% or even 7%, there wouldn't be demand for a new hotel in Hilo. But if the capture rate increased to 8 or 9%, then yes, the market could support a new hotel. And again, this was done before the announcement of the closure of Uncle Billy's Hotel, which has 143 rooms. So this is an analysis that we did recently following that announcement. So basically adding in here 143 rooms to each of the scenarios, and what you can see now is that yes, there would be a demand for a new hotel under the various capture rate scenarios, even if the percentage of visitors to Hilo doesn't increase. And just to mention, we looked at these different percentage rates. It's been, I looked up the recent data in 2013 and 14. It's been about the same, 6.5%. But Hilo has gotten this higher percentage in the past. I mentioned earlier it peaked at 9.7% in the mid-2000s. So it is possible. So part of the reason why, in order to answer the question of, is there demand for new hotel and can we bring more people to Hilo, what we wanted to do was try to understand why Hilo does capture a smaller proportion of visitors to the state. And some of the findings that we came up with were there are more purpose-driven visits to Hilo. Of course, there's the flight capacity issue that I mentioned earlier. There's a lack of critical mass of tourism amenities like the resort areas, golf courses, dining areas that some people may be looking for. There's older infrastructure, a lack of diversity in hotel price class, and compared to some of the other islands, there are fewer opportunities for beach and ocean recreation. And although Hilo is very rich in culture and as was mentioned earlier, the hula capital of the state, there are relatively fewer opportunities for entertainment and cultural experiences in Hilo compared to some of the other destinations. So finally, we looked at how can Hilo increase its capture rate. One scenario is a new hotel to diversify lodging options, overall improvement in the tourism infrastructure in the area, successful marketing of Hilo and East Hawaii's uniqueness and charm. And I also wanted to note that hotel capacity limitations on Oahu will require that more tourism growth occur on the neighbor islands. And finally, increase in flight capacity.
Quick question. Was your analysis based on a $100 rate for rooms, or was it based on a higher rate?
The hotel demand analysis. The analysis was just looking at the number of people, so it didn't get into the price class for a different hotel.